In this Handmade Holidays video, I'm going to show you how to take an old sweater and turn it into a warm capelet to keep you toasty all winter long. Make one for yourself, make one for a family member, but just make one. Let's jump into it. It's like a skirt for your head. Hey guys, it's Elizabeth from ElizabethMadeThis.com, bringing you day 3 of my Handmade Holidays series right here on Elizabeth Made This. So today we're going to take an old sweater and we're going to turn it into like a little capelet, cowl, poncho thingy, cowl. What do you call this? I don't know, a poncholet, a capelet. Anyway, it's warm. So the reason why I like to use old sweaters is because they're cheap and they're plentiful and you can find a million of them at the thrift store, and probably you have one in your own closet. This one came from my own closet. This was a tunic that I bought when I was pregnant with my daughter, and it no longer fits me. It's too big, but I still really like the fabric's nice and it's free. So we're gonna use it and we're gonna change it into something different. So let me show you how we can do this really easily. Okay, so I have my sweater laid out on the table, and I am just going to really quick mark the center front line of my sweater. So I'm gonna do that. I actually already did that. You wanna take the side seams and match them together, and then just go ahead and mark that with a pin at the bottom and, you know, like 15 inches or so up the top. And that'll be our center front line. Okay, then go ahead and turn it back over, and it's back to its normal, you know, as if it were laying flat kind of way. And I'm just gonna flatten this out as best I can and make sure that my bottom is also even. Okay, so I want my particular capelet to be about 16 inches deep. So I am gonna set my ruler at 16 inches. And I'm just gonna put it right on that center front line, matching pin to pin. That way I'm perpendicular to the, you know, this is where my grain line is. Okay, I'm just gonna use my chalk to make a straight line across there. And this one has kind of a funny little pleat in the center, which is awesome for being pregnant, but not so much for doing this right now. I actually want the top of my cowl to be 8 inches long total. So it'll be 16 all the way around, because we're gonna cut through both layers of our sweater. The one thing I will say, I will caution you about, I know earlier I said that cutting it so that you have a circumference of 16 inches around your neck is a good rule of thumb, but it really depends on your sweater knit. Some of them have more recovery than others. The rib knit one that I was wearing earlier has tons of recovery, so 16 inches is super easy for that. For this one, it's 16 inches. I probably could use a little bit more. So the best way to test it on yourself is to take the knit and just wrap it around your head, and then just kind of find that, pull on it until you find that spot where you can like easily pull it over your head, no problem. So for me, right there, if I was being extra careful today, I would probably cut that actually closer to 18 inches. So if you're not sure, just test with whatever knit you happen to be using. This is always a great way just to double check your work. So from the center front line, I want to take my chalk out to 4 inches on that side, and then 4 inches from the other side. And I'm just going to square it off a little bit so that I can tell exactly where that is. Okay, then take the 4-inch marking all the way down to the hem. So it's going to make like this funny little trapezoid situation. You can see I'm going to run into these pockets, but I'm going to take those off later, because who needs pockets on your poncho? That looks kind of weird. But for right now, we're just going to deal with them as they are. Okay, I'm going to do the very same thing to my other side. Okay, so now I'm gonna grab a pair of scissors and I'm just gonna cut right along those lines. And contrary to popular belief, this knit is actually going to ravel, so I am not going to recommend that you use a serger here. This knit does not have a lot of recovery, so if you use a serger, it's just gonna be all wavy and it's gonna pull out of shape and it's gonna look terrible. So we're gonna sew this project on a regular sewing machine. So we're just finishing up cutting. And I'm actually going to grab some of the trim. You can see the bottom, the hem has this nice kind of different sort of trim on it, and the sleeve also has a different kind of trim. A lot of sweaters will have this kind of trim around the neckline, but on this one it just has it on the little cap sleeve. So I am going to use that to finish off the top of my neckline because I'm not going to have to finish the bottom since I'm using it. And I'm just not going to worry about these pockets at all because I'm going to get rid of them. Okay, so there is that, and I'm just going to set these aside for a second, and I'm going to get the trim. And for now, I want really like 3/8 of an inch past where that line is, and that way I can see all of that trim on this. So I'm just going to use my ruler and mark 3/8 of an inch above where that trim line is started, and I'm just gonna cut along there. I'm gonna go all the way around the sleeve so I have that little bit of trim, and I'm gonna do that on the other sleeve. Okay, now we can get sewing. Okay, so the first thing that we need to do is just finish off the top of the neckline. So I took that little piece that I cut from the sleeve, and this is going to be the binding for the top. I don't have to bind the bottom because, again, it's already been finished by the hem edge of the sweater. So I'm going to line up that top with the top of my neckline. I'm going to drop my needle, and then I'm going to put my presser foot down. And you ask, why would I do that? And it's just so that it keeps my thread from getting sucked down into the machine. I'm going to tug just very gently on the binding only, not the neckline. And this is going to keep the neckline sitting kind of flat towards the body. And I have my machine set at a zigzag stitch with a 0.5 width and a 3.0 length. And again, I cut the binding a little bit wider than where that finished edge is, so that finished edge sits right at the top of the neckline. So again, I'm just gently pulling on that. And I can't pull too hard because this knit has very, very little recovery, and if I pull too hard, it's gonna just be bunchy and horrible. But because I'm using my sewing machine, it's not going to stretch out of shape like it would on our serger. On a serger, this would be like super wavy time. Okay, so now I'm going to fold this over, and this is really bulky, so I am gonna top stitch it so that it's just nice and flat. And you're not going to be able to see these stitches really because the sweater knit is so thick. Just be sure that you're rolling it under as you're going along, and sew as close to the end of the seam as you can. And just cut off anything extra that's left of the binding at the end. I already did this with the other piece, and so now we can put right sides together, and we're just gonna sew up the side seams, and literally that is all there is to this. So I'm gonna sew the side seams, and then I'm gonna finish it very much the same way that I did before. If you have a side seam in here, like I do on mine, don't worry about it. It's gonna be fine on your finished capelet. Okay, I'm still gonna use that 3/8 of an inch seam allowance. And I'm just gonna sew all the way from the bottom to the top. when you get towards the top, make sure that you're matching your neck binding so that that seam looks nice. Okay, so now I am going to, again, just go ahead and top stitch down that seam. Just press it to one side or the other, it really doesn't matter. I'm gonna go towards the back because that's how the seam really is wanting to go, and sometimes you do that. Just keep feeling with your fingers to make sure that it's rolling towards that direction. And just use the lines on your presser foot to be a guide for your top stitching so that it's nice and straight. And this will keep this seam nice and flat, and it's also going to be a lot more comfortable for you to wear. And because this is one of the few kinds of knits that will actually unravel on you, this is going to finish that seam off on the inside too. And do backstitch when you get to the end too. Okay, and then just repeat for the other side. So literally just like that, in maybe less than 15 minutes, you will have made a nice little poncholet, capelet thingy. I like to style them with just a regular, like a vintage pin. This one has a nice little button on it. And I like to take one side and kind of gather it a little bit and poke it through. You just made a really cute, easy cowl, and it took you no time to do it. Thanks for watching Handmade Holidays. Keep watching Handmade Holidays, and if you like this video, give it a thumbs up. Don't forget to subscribe. There's lots more quick and easy gift ideas coming your way in the next few days here on Elizabeth Made This. Thanks! Happy sewing!